Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskin. I am the author and international sex symbol behind such books as Jazz Piano Fundamentals and Playing Solo Jazz Piano. And today I want to talk to you about something that interests me a lot. I hope it will interest you. It's playing a modal blues. And before we get into this, so first of all, let's talk about what that means, and I'll play a little bit for you. So I often think of Chick Corea's Matrix as being a prime example of a modal blues. Keith Jarrett often plays blues in a modal way. Coltrane plays blues in a modal way. And I think it's always useful to define what I mean by modal, and to contrast that word modal with the word tonal. Tonal means that we have a leading tone, which means that we have dominant chords leading to tonic chords. And the blues is kind of this funny spot for this because the blues does not really abide by a lot of our rules of tonality, right? If we look at this progression here, we actually can't really find a single 5-to-1 progression until the end. And this is a really basic, I call it a rock blues or like a jam band blues, but this has our 5-to-4-to-1 progression. So in a sense, the blues is already modal, but especially in the jazz world, it often exists in a tonal universe. We often kind of add in 5 chords. And then we might go. And we might add a 2-5-1 at the end. So we're adding a lot of tonal elements to this blues. So by contrast, in a modal piece, we're thinking more about shifting colors rather than having a sense of home base or tension and resolution. And one way that we can do this is to actually go through our different modes of the major scale. Is it possible to use modes of the melodic minor scale and other fancy scales? Yes. I want to focus on modes of the major scale because it's going to give us plenty to do. And practice applying them to this blues form. And I've chosen this simple blues form on purpose to keep our lives simple. So first, let's start with the Mixolydian mode. Now, arguably, this progression you could already improvise over. I'm doing great with English, guys. You could already improvise over this progression using the Mixolydian mode, right? We commonly associate the Mixolydian mode with dominant chords. But in a modal sense, we try to avoid dominant chords, right? Dominant chords are the ones that want to resolve. Now, with the caveat that the blues does not fit those same expectations, we still want to draw a distinction. And it's much more common in a modal context to use sus chords to affiliate with Mixolydian. And in fact, we can make every single chord a sus chord. When you think of sus chords in a Mixolydian mode, you can think of Maiden Voyage, right? That would be kind of our go-to sus chord tune, or Wayne Shorter's Yes or No starts with a sus chord. And one of the reasons that we love sus chords is because there's no note of the scale, of this Mixolydian scale. I'll go to F so that you can see. And in fact, shall we do this? Yeah, let's do this. You can't see me, but I'm not that good looking. All right, so here's an F sus. Here's F Mixolydian scale. There's no dissonant notes as you play that F Mixolydian scale against the F sus. Versus if you play an F7, we run into this issue here. And this is often what we're doing modally. If you did watch my video about the most consonant scales, we're often choosing the most consonant scales in a modal context. So our first way to make this blues modal is just simply to continue using Mixolydian modes, but to replace the dominant 7th chords with sus chords. And you're going to hear the difference immediately. Let's see. Do we want this? Do we want this? Maybe we want this. No, we want to see the iPad. All right, you're not going to see me. Just imagine the faces I'm going to make. So if I play this F blues, but replace all the dominant chords with sus chords, it sounds like this. already really transformed, in my opinion at least. And so if I go to improvise, now I can use every single note of that Mixolydian mode. So I can play. Okay, so I feel like I sound like a cheap Chick Corea, like a very mediocre Chick Corea if I do that. I'll take mediocre Chick Corea any day of the week, right? I assume you would too if you're anything like me. Okay, so that's step one. We could make kind of a Mixolydian modal blues by making these chords sus. Now, the next mode that we would probably go to would be Dorian, and we could make these all minor seventh chords. Now, this is kind of different than making a minor blues. In a minor blues, we might have minor seventh chords, but we might also have kind of minor sixth chords in there. And let's see. Let's just try. I honestly don't know how this is going to sound. Let's make these minor chords as well. This might be overdoing it a bit. But here we're going to focus on the Dorian mode. I'll put on the function where you can see the notes, and here's the iPad. 1, 2, 2, 2, F minor. I actually kind of liked it. Sorry, wrong note. Kind of cool. One well-known blues tune that does use the Dorian mode is Stolen Moments, if you're familiar with that one. Where does it start? I know I'm butchering this, but it has a different cadence. I'm so sorry about that melody. I'm sorry, Oliver Nelson. I'll do better. I just can't remember what note it starts on. Nah, I'm messing it up. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Dorian, minor seventh chords. We could use Aeolian, not in my experience the most effective modal blues kind of thing. So to use Aeolian, we could think of it as first inversion major triads or minor seventh flat six. And what I mean when I say first inversion major triads is it'd be like D flat over F. And then, did I say that right? Yeah, exactly right. And then G flat major over B flat. So this will sound okay. So enthusiastic, I know. Wrong note, sorry. You really have to resolve that flat six, so it's a little bit trickier versus the Mixolydian and the Dorian. You don't have to resolve anything. more than I thought I might, actually. But the reason why I'm a little skeptical is because I've been waiting for this Phrygian blues that comes next. So with Phrygian, sometimes we use the chord symbol sus flat 9 to indicate Phrygian. You don't need to watch me do that for every chord in the blues. You can change every chord based on the root to a sus flat 9. Sometimes we just mark things like P, H, Y, R, G for Phrygian. Did I say that right? P, H, R, Y, G. And I think that this sounds really gnarly and kind of purposely out in a way that you could use, as you're getting to your 8th, 9th, and 10th course of the blues and you're ready for something really different, you could go into a Phrygian blues. So here's my attempt at a Phrygian blues. Remember, F Phrygian is going to be I found myself wanting to do there, which you could experiment with, is keep that F Phrygian mode as you go to the B flat, in which case I believe it becomes B flat Aeolian. So if I maintain those 7 notes, then I get B flat Aeolian. So then the 1 and the 4 have slightly different colors. So that's something kind of interesting you can play with. And yes, we can have a Locrian blues. Anything that you dream, it can be true. So Locrian usually is thought of as going with half diminished chords, and it would sound like this. Takes a lot of thinking for me. I'm really not used to playing those those Locrian modes over the blues form. But it's kind of a cool sound, right? Very dark. I think I posted a long time ago my transcription of Wooden Steps by Kenny Garrett. That's a really good tune to look at in terms of them using really different sounds, like Phrygian and Locrian over a blues form. Now, some of you will notice that we've skipped Ionian and Lydian, and yes, it is possible to play a blues form with Ionian and Lydian. It's probably not going to be super recognizable as bluesy. It's going to sound like another thing because these are modes with a major 7th, but let me do it for you. So Ionian, of course, is the major scale, and I'd probably put this in a less swinging, more like an ECM kind of bossa-y context, but I'm going to try to make it sound like the other ones. Here we go. So. C major scale is really painful in there for the 5. I would probably have to use C Mixolydian because hearing that B natural in the key of F just sounds so weird. And Lydian is going to sound very bright. I recently played a concert that had a bunch of people in it, but one was a really great guitarist named Bruce Foreman, and he used the Lydian dominant over the blues. Totally possible, right? So Lydian dominant is like the major scale with a raised 4th and lowered 7th. that shocking, I don't think. So you can experiment with any mode of the melodic minor or any crazy scale you want to come up with as well. Maybe as a concluding step here, I want to assign, not that I can assign anything, but suggest and demonstrate an exercise in which you would start with Mixolydian and then move through the modes. And by the way, if you're wondering about the order of the modes, these are the orders in which we add flats. So Mixolydian has 1 flat in the key of C. Dorian would have 2 flats, Aeolian 3, Phrygian 4, and then Locrian 5. So I could play 1 chorus each. I'm going to do it in the key of F because that's the key we've been in. So I'm going to start with Mixolydian. So that's our sus chords. Like minor instead of dominant. I'm sorry for that flat 6, but here's Aeolian that has that flat 6. Phrygian with the flat 2. And then Locrian with a flat 5. Kind of bluesy, right? So I didn't do it perfectly. There are definitely some wrong notes in there, but I mostly have the idea. And that would be the exercise to go from Mixolydian all the way to Locrian. So good luck. If you like this, you will love my books. Oh, God, you'll like my books. Playing solo jazz piano fundamentals. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you soon.